The Living Zen-podcast is a gift from the members and associates of the Victoria Zen Centre to you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to let your friends know about Living Zen. If you'd like to support our community, download the Living Zen-podcast app for iPod, iPhone, and Android. One of the most meaningful ways to show your support is by becoming a part of our Sangha as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen podcast and our online e-Zendo will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at zenwest.ca and click on Become an Associate. Many more Zen Talks are available for purchase on iTunes and Amazon.com. Just search for Venerable Eshu Martin. These talks are also available for free on our website to all members and associates of the Victoria Zen Centre. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. When we first approach Zen practice, I think one of the big challenges that many of us face as we sit is this question of what am I supposed to be doing? As we sit here, being still and paying attention to all these various aspects of body and mind, what is it that I'm doing? How do I do Zen practice? This is a tremendous challenge that we face because for so much of our lives we are obsessed with doing. I was just having a conversation earlier today with a student who was talking about boredom. And one of the characteristics, or one of the ways that I understand and look at boredom, is the dissatisfaction with the experience of being and the overwhelming urge that something needs to be done. We need to do. So when we first come to Zen practice, our first task is to undo, is to become familiar, is to begin to find our way home into this very moment, this unfolding activity of this very moment of our lives, and find our home in the activity of being, of having, as Linji, one of the masters in the tradition from which I'm trained, says, having nothing to do. It's not doing nothing, but finding ourselves at ease, at home, at rest, complete and satisfied in the activity of simply being. When we investigate the activity of our mind, when we investigate how we interact with other people, with various situations, in all kinds of relationships, we find that what we're always thinking about is the next thing that needs to be done, what it is that we need to complete, what it is we need to do next, how it is that this could be better. And we spend almost no time at all actually immersing ourselves in what is, in the activity of this very moment. One of the real challenges or the problems that this kind of approach to life creates is that we never have the opportunity to witness this person that we manifest. We never have the opportunity to observe who it is that we are. We never have the opportunity to observe how we interact with the world, how we make relationship, how we step forward. Another master named Dogen once sort of laid out this formula for practice. And the formula goes, to study Zen is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be awakened by 10,000 things. And as always, with us human beings, we're always looking 2 or 3 steps ahead. What's next? Where are we going? What needs to be done? So when I even quote this famous formula, that's pretty good, famous. We're already thinking about how do we get awakened by the 10,000 things. We sort of skip over the first parts. And the first part of this formula, particularly as we begin a practice, and always throughout practice, it's not as if these phases or these functions of practice disappear once we've been practicing for 2 or 10 or 20 years. This is a continuous cycle. To study Zen is to study the self. And by study, it doesn't mean like intellectually observe, but to sit in the presence of, to be with this personality that we've created out of our thoughts and preferences and choices. To observe how the conditioning, the parenting, the circumstances that we've experienced, our life situations, have led to this thing that we call a self in this moment. To observe how it is that in our interactions, in our relationships, in the situations that we create, our experience is born. Oftentimes, when we are just going through our lives without awareness, things seem to happen quite automatically. Situations arise and we react out of habit, out of conditioning, out of experiences that we've had. There is no space for consideration. There is no option of doing things in a different way. And sometimes we become frustrated with how things always seem to turn out the same way. But we never take the time to observe, to become aware of how our reaction, of how our response to situations as they arise contributes and shapes the experience that we have. Zen practice is a big, in large part, an experiment. We begin with this idea that this thing that I call a self is not fixed, it's not lasting, it's not permanent, and it doesn't stand outside the rest of this vast cosmos. But it is intimately related and ever-changing. That the experiences that we have are not foisted upon us by some unfeeling, unthinking, cruel or benevolent other. But that as situations arise, we respond, we react. And in that relationship, in that interaction, an experience is born. What practice allows us to experience, allows us to witness, allows us to participate in, is the transformation of our lives. When we begin to see how we interact, when we begin to witness how the way in which we make relationship forms our experience, we begin to see that there are different ways of doing that. Doors open to a different kind of life. Doors open to different kinds of relationships. Doors open to being a different I. Now, I think it's easy to sit and think, oh my, this all sounds so wonderful. But don't be fooled. To become a new self, to transform, is terrifying. Because we can't stay the same self and simultaneously be a new self. If we want to transform, if we want to let go of the way things have been, if we want to change, then this old I, this old me, the old way of doing things has to atrophy, has to die. We can experiment with this through our practice. We can witness that by making small changes, our experience of life changes. By making small differences of choice, we have small pieces of life that change. And this evidence, this experience, this opportunity to become aware of and to witness that as we change as individuals, as we change as I, as we allow this personality, this self to drop away, the world around us transforms as well. And as we gain more confidence in this transformation, we become more and more free to let go of more and more and more of these things that we hang on to, these things that we become so fixated and taking as, this is me, this is who I am. This is the second part that Dogen talks about. To study the self is to forget the self. Letting go of these aspects of who it is that I think I am allows us to move, allows us to transform, allows us to expand into this limitless capacity of our true self, our true nature. We begin to realize and experience that we are not separate from this world, from this cosmos, from this environment, these relationships. We find, we often ask, I think, when we engage in something like meditation practice, what do I get out of it? What's in it for me? How does it benefit me? As we continue to practice Zen, we find that our very nature is complete. Our very nature is boundless. And what we find is that in our obsession, in our attachment, in our fixation with who it is that I think I am, it is we ourselves that take this complete, fulfilled nature and chop it into bits, saying, I like this and I don't like that, and I'm this kind of person and I don't do that. And so when people ask me, what do you get from Zen practice? I only say, I don't get much, but I lose plenty. Letting go of these limitations, letting go of these fixations, letting go of these calcified structures with which I identify myself and my preferences. As I go forward in practice, the world that I am a part of gets bigger. The life that I am a part of expands. The number of things which I take as being opposed to me, or threatening me, or frightening me, diminish, dissolve, and disappear. There is absolutely nothing to be gained from Zen practice. This is because already, just as you are complete. This practice is aimed at shedding the mask, shedding the shackle, shedding the illusion that you are limited, that you are rigid, that you are stuck doing and being just exactly what you are right now. This is the path, as it said, the path of liberation, of freedom, of awakening. There's nothing outside that you need to gain. It is simply a matter of waking up to who you truly are.
Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.